And now Iran, if they bomb Iran, it is the end of Israel. Literally, Israel will be turned into the Stone Age, and this will trigger an Israeli nuclear response, which will trigger an Iranian nuclear response. That's where we're at right now. It's no joke time. This is end of the world kind of stuff, and yet we're still playing stupid games.
This as Israel prepares for an attack on Iran after the rogue nation fired hundreds of missiles at them nearly 2 weeks ago. But when and how they'll do it remains a mystery, with U.S. officials acknowledging Israel has not shared details of its plan with them.
Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has vowed to respond more powerfully than before if Israel retaliates for Iran's ballistic missile attack against the Jewish state. On October 1st, the Islamic Republic fired off 181 ballistic missiles against Israel. Most were shot down by Israeli anti-missile defenses. So what now?
They asked him, what do you think about Iran? Would you hit Iran? And he goes, as long as they don't hit the nuclear stuff. That's the thing you want to hit, right?
But Tehran is reportedly threatened to target any Arab state, including and especially the American allies in West Asia, if these Arab states allow their airspace or territories to be used in any attack on Iran or its interests. This after the State of Israel has vowed to attack Iran with lethal, precise and even surprising force for its 180 ballistic missile reprisal on the 1st of October.
Iran has warned Arab nations in the Gulf not to allow Israel to use their airspace in any retaliatory strike. And if they did so, they would be considered participants in the war. Now, according to U.S. officials, the thinking now is that they don't believe Israel will target nuclear facilities or carry out an assassination. The thinking is that Israel will go after Iranian military and energy infrastructure.
I thought that Netanyahu might be playing a game of putting pressure on the Biden administration to get as many concessions out of the Biden administration as possible, following through on his gambit back in July to come to the United States, talk to the United States Congress, wrap himself in the American flag. And the Biden administration was putting a pretty substantial package on the table, basically saying the sky's the limit on military equipment you'll never want. And we will back you, till hell freezes over diplomatically. You'll never have to worry about anything out of the United Nations, and America will seek to quash anything that happens in the International Court of Justice, International Criminal Court. We've got your back. Just don't strike Iran. I think basically what we're saying is don't strike the critical nuclear sites or oil sites in Iran. Somehow, we keep saying it's okay for proportional, because here's the problem. We don't think Iran's going to, follow through. We think that if Israel does a proportional response, that somehow we'll be able to convince Iran to do a proportional response to the proportional response and manage the escalation ladder. Because our goal being the United States, the Biden administration, is to prevent a major global crisis in the lead up to a critical national election, where the legacy of the Biden administration's on the ballot. Kamala Harris is, to be the successor of the Biden presidency, and one would think that the Biden administration wants her to win, and so that they are going to do that which is necessary to prevent the kind of crises that could derail the Harris election. One of the big crises that could do that would be a global economic meltdown triggered by energy insecurities, triggered by a regional conflict that put energy production facilities in the entire Middle East at risk. Iran has said that if its oil production sites are hit, it will take out the oil production sites of all the Middle East oil producing countries. They've also said that if you strike our nuclear facilities, this is an existential thing. And here's the story that I think most people are missing right now. Iran has said that if Israel attacks it, Iran is going to hit Israel with 1,000 missiles, 2,000 missiles. and they're going to take out over $100 billion of pre-designated infrastructure targets, which they've already identified. Basically, Iran is going to turn out the lights permanently in Israel, prevent Israel from having fresh running water, disrupt communications, energy distribution, energy production. Israel will be turned into returned to the Stone Age. That's Iran's promise. Somehow Israel and the United States believe Iran is bluffing because that represents an existential threat to Israel, and Israel's existential response is the Samson option, is nuclear weapons. The other thing is when people talk about striking nuclear facilities, understand that the other thing Iran has said is that if you do this, we're going nuclear, and they mean it. In fact, I think the big news here is that we've seen since May of this year 3 major statements made by very senior people within the Iranian government that suggest, or do more than suggest, state that the fatwa that is currently in place that prohibits Iran from developing weapons of mass destruction, including nuclear weapons, because it's inconsistent with the teachings of Islam, that fatwa could be changed if Islam itself is placed under threat, and Iran is an Islamic republic. Vilayat al-Faqih, the rule of the senior jurisprudence, is the methodology that they have embraced. It's a theocracy, and Israel's attacking nuclear infrastructure is deemed as an attack against the existential survival of the Islamic Republic, and therefore this fatwa would be reversed. Now, if you study declaratory policy, and that's basically what this is statements made by government officials that have the effect of saying this is our policy, void of in lieu of any official document being published. You don't make declaratory policy in a vacuum. It's usually accompanied by actions that give teeth to this policy. And so if Iran is going to say that the fatwa is going to be reversed, and if that's going to have any meaning, that means Iran needs to be on the cusp of being able to produce a nuclear weapon. The first statement made in this regard was made in May by a former Iranian foreign minister under Khatami, who is now a member of the Expediency Discernment Council, which is a very senior policy advisory committee mandated by Constitution, advises the supreme leader on critical issues. And this former foreign minister said that Iran will reconsider its nuclear policy. This fatwa could be reversed. Later on, I think last month, a very senior member of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Command said the same thing. And he basically said, we will make nuclear weapons, that this fatwa will be reversed. Now you have the Iranian parliament actually saying, reverse the fatwa, and we must make nuclear weapons if Israel strikes us. All of this is linked because none of this happens without the supreme leader giving his blessing. You do not get to speak on behalf of the supreme leader in Iran. You don't get to question his fatwas, suggest they be changed publicly. So for these people to speak, a decision has been made, which means Iran has already had this conversation, and the decision has been made. If Iran is going to produce nuclear weapons, they can't do it in a manner which requires long lead time. It has to be able to be acted upon instantly, which means they front-loaded the system. That means that Iran has produced a nuclear device minus the fissile core. Now, they don't have, I know there's questions, people say, what about that nuclear weapons test that took place in Iran?
Right, I was going to ask you about that, yeah.
Well, I don't think it's a nuclear weapons test for a number of reasons. One, the depth of the explosion exceeds by order of magnitude the depth that you normally have these underground tests. Normally, you'll do it at 600, 800, maybe a kilometer down. This was, I think, 7.7 kilometers down or 7.7 miles down. It was far deeper. And just the logistics of that, to dig that borehole size enough to create the cavern, has to be of a specific size, dimensions. You want to put, if you're going to do a test, you need to test things. That means you have to get the instruments down there. How do you get instruments down there and do this? And how do you do all that without it being detected? So I don't think so. Plus, the biggest problem is the diversion of the enriched uranium material. Right now, Iran has a significant stockpile of uranium hexafluoride, which is the feedstock to the centrifuges that enrich uranium. They have a significant stockpile of it enriched to 60%. The IAEA a while back said that this is enough for 3 to 5 bombs. There might even be more material now because Iran hasn't stopped the production of this. Iran has specially configured centrifuges that can turn that 60% into 96 to 98% in a very short period of time. These are modern centrifuges, highly efficient, and it'll be done almost instantly. And Iran, because they are producing uranium metal, they turn the enriched to 60% into uranium metal. They make metal plates, which is the fuel for the Tehran research reactor, so they can convert this into metal very easily. And once you convert uranium into metal, it doesn't take, the Iranians are pretty smart with calculations. You can do very simple calculations on how much uranium of a certain enrichment is required to go critical. And you do the calculations of a gun design. So gun design is basically you take a chunk of uranium, you remove a pit, and you fire it like a gun, boom, into it, and the impact into it causes it to go critical, and then you go fission. That was basically the bomb that was used. I think it was the Little Boy bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima. It was a uranium gun design weapon, achieved 15 kilotons, and maybe the Iranians will be able to get 20, 25 kilotons out of a gun design. But they can take a gun design, put it on a warhead, and deliver that warhead to Israel. And I think right now Iran has the missiles capable of carrying this device has been built. It's not sophisticated. It has been built, and all that's needed is to insert the fissile material, and you've got a weapon. That decision's been made. They've already done it. They're front loaded. So here's the news flash. Iran is a nuclear weapons power. Now, this changes everything. This changes absolutely everything, because now if Israel uses nuclear weapons, because to strike Iran's nuclear facilities, especially facilities like the Firdos facility, it is dug into a mountain, literally dug into a mountain. And you cannot take this out using conventional weapons, especially any that Israel has. In order to take this out, you will have to use nuclear weapons. This is why Donald Trump, and again, I'm taking this on a different tangent, but Donald Trump recently made some comments about, you want to hit the nuclear. That's the good stuff. That's what you want to do. Understand that when he said that, what is he saying? Because Donald Trump, again, most Americans don't reflect on this. When he was president, he changed America's nuclear posture and the American nuclear employment plan. And he allowed 2 new categories of weapons to be built, specifically for the purpose of taking out the Firdos underground nuclear facility in Iran. Because either we were going to have to hit Iran with a 700 kiloton weapon or 150 kiloton weapon, which is a huge thing, and the consequences of that you can't even. Or we use what we call a usable nuke. Two weapons were designed. One was a B-60, a variant of the B-61 gravity bomb that we have, and we built a B-61 that is a bunker buster, a penetrator. So it's able to burrow into the ground before it goes off and creates the over compression that can do it. This bomb specifically was designed and built for hitting Iran. And Donald Trump knows this because he's the one that put it into play and made it part of our nuclear employment plan. He's the one that knows that one of the option cards that the president will get when the suitcase is opened up is, to send B-2 bombers equipped with B-61 bombs to strike Firdos. He's the one who put it in place. And so when he says, we got to hit the nuclear, it's the good stuff, he knows what that means. It's a B-61, a B-2 bomber with a B-61 bomb hitting Firdos, probably 2 bombs because you always go for redundancy, or it's a W-76-2 low-yield nuclear weapon fired off of a Trident submarine that will again come in and hit. Again, designed to do exactly that, give the president options. So here we have the president of the United States actively saying to Israel, use nukes against Iran, because he knows that we can't destroy it without nukes. And so Israel would have to use nuclear weapons to destroy it. So he's encouraging Israel to use nuclear weapons against Iran. Iran is aware of this, which is why Iran has come out and said, we have nuclear weapons. Now, they haven't said that straight up, we have nuclear weapons, but I've worked with the Israelis back in the 1990s. I'm familiar with their analytical processes and how they extrapolate things, how they think into it. And I can guarantee you they have analysts right now who are saying the exact same thing. Mr. Prime Minister, Iran has nuclear weapons. And if we continue with this policy, Iran will use these nuclear weapons against us. Our calculations are that 3 to 5, 15 to 20 kiloton devices will eliminate Israel. And as Iran proved in Operation True Promise 2, they can deliver the missiles that will hit any part in Israel they want to, anytime they want to hit it, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. If you attack Iran, Mr. President, we are destroying Israel forever. That's the discussions that are taking place right now. So we are at a very serious moment in world history right now, where Israel is playing stupid games. Benjamin Netanyahu is literally gambling the lives of over 100 million people, because that will be the casualties. I know Israel's 12 million, but when you talk about the damage that'll take place, over 100 million people will be killed by a nuclear conflict between Israel and Iran. And and this is what we're talking about, but nobody's talking about it right now. We have a president joking about hitting the nuclear. We have a prime minister that's calling the bluff of the United States, and we know we call it the bluff because, again, Biden put some really good stuff on the table. But just yesterday, the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, I believe it was yesterday, it might have been this morning, I don't know, I'm getting tired, but she basically said, the United States is supporting 2 resolutions. One calling for the immediate provision of humanitarian aid, the other one calling for a ceasefire, that the United States is blocked. She is blocked. She is on record saying these are horrible resolutions. America could never support this stuff. And suddenly she has to eat crow and read her instructions from the State Department. Why? Because Joe Biden had a 30-minute conversation with Benjamin Netanyahu, reading him the Riot Act, and Netanyahu told him to pound sand. He said, no, we are attacking. And so Biden now is trying to put pressure on Israel, demonstrating that the United States won't have your back. Now Israel has to calculate this, but Netanyahu is desperate right now. He's failing in Gaza. I mean, how many times is Israel going to have to go in and clean out Gaza? I mean, they now have to go into the northern part of Gaza again. Why? Because Hamas hasn't been defeated. They're there. They're resisting. They're killing Israelis. They're firing rockets into Israel. This is over a year into this war, and Israel hasn't defeated Hamas. They will never defeat Hamas. And in Hezbollah right now, Israel is making some propaganda videos on the periphery, but every time they penetrate deep, they get hit hard by Hezbollah. They get, they're getting knocked out. And now Iran, if they bomb Iran, it is the end of Israel. Literally, Israel will be turned into the Stone Age, and this will trigger an Israeli nuclear response, which will trigger an Iranian nuclear response. That's where we're at right now. It's no joke time. This is end of the world kind of stuff, and yet we're still playing stupid games.